Hello everyone and welcome to Ant Biology webinar series presented to you by Translational Research Outcome Group, University of Calcutta, Department of Zoology. As you're already aware of that we not only focus on various perspectives of biology, but also how biology is connected to various other disciplines. So I am Akashlina and I will be your moderator for today's talk. And for all our audience, you can post your questions and interact among yourselves in the comment. The feedback link of this program will be shared in the comment at the end of the session, so please follow that. And our mentor and conveyor, Professor N.R.A. Banerjee, Department of Zoology, University of Calcutta, could not join us today, but she was looking forward to join, and she has sent her greetings to all our viewers and to our respected guest. And so I will take this opportunity to actually introduce you guys to our guest, to our eminent guest, Mr. Jayanta Bosu. A very warm welcome to you, sir. And Jayanta Bosu is a specialized environment and climate correspondent and columnist associated with the Telegraph ABP Private Limited India, contributor in various national and international print, audio, visual and digital media like Down to Earth, Third Pole, Half Post, and more recently including moderator of weekly television show South Asia Environment Dialogue for Climate Channel Canada. Mr. Basu is set to launch his own environment and health digital media platform and YouTube channel, The Plurals, soon. Apart from covering climate change issues nationally and internationally, almost a regular in international climate change meetings since Copenhagen Climate Summit 2019. Mr. Basu has led successfully a number of landmark environmental campaigns for Telegraph and other platforms. He is also faculty in University of Calcutta and works with various key environmental issues through non-profit NGO, which works closely with government of West Bengal, multinationals like UNICEF, World Bank, DFID, etc. And also associated with academic institutions like Jadavpur University, New York City University, and pioneers in India and Bangladesh transboundary Sundarban programs over the last 1 decade. He is also a part of several important committees like KMC Climate, Solar Committee, Ganga Mekong Committee, the state level Green Society Network, Shobuj Moncho, among others. He has a number of publications including academic journal Springer, and also recipient of several accolades like Earth Journalism Network Fellow from India, Poribesh সংরক্ষণ Samman 2020 from Torun Bharat Sangha, nominated Indian representative for climate politics program in Germany, and also the receiver of Boshundhara Award, among others. He has also given lectures in various parts of the world. So, sir, we are very honored to have you in our platform, and the stage is all yours.
Thank you, Akashlina. Looking forward to it. And this is, we all know, is a kind of a season of Ghar Wapsi. And I am basically from this zoology department, and I have been kind of teaching in environment science department from 2002-03, but never somehow had the opportunity to come to the first floor when used to go to the 8th floor and come down to the lift and go out. So in a way, this is an opportunity. Thanks to Enna is not here, but thanks to Enna, I can kind of come back to the zoology department in a way, though virtually. But it's really a pleasure and privilege to a department where I have been many years back, but still being fine, quite attached to it. Thank you, Akashlina, for your very warm, I would say, welcome. What are you trying to do before I go to the presentation? I hope many students and scholars are being kind of watching it or will watch it in YouTube link. This is going to be, take it from me, this is going to be the subject of future. Climate change, climate negotiation, climate finance, anything about climate. And climate science is an extremely horizontal mode of discourse. You can have students from, or the experts from hardcore science. You can have people from hardcore commerce. You can have people from hardcore legal profession. But somewhere down the line, they are all kind of merged. And I have seen all over the world how this entire discourse and even the students and their kind of I would say employment, research, and other opportunities are being expanding like anything for climate change. And I'm a bit disappointed that this doesn't has been not being repeated the way it should have been in India. I've been speaking to many people. I won't say India. There are many parts of India where climate change is taken quite seriously at academic level, but not necessarily in West Bengal. We do kind of embrace climate change in environmental science and others, but I think the time is right when we need to have dedicated climate change oriented course and professionals. Because if tomorrow India is going to prepare 450 gigawatt of solar energy, who are going to take care of that? What are the professionals? Where are those professionals are from? Only engineers can't do it. People like you and people like me from the biological science background need to do that. So that's a bit of a small, I would say, introduction of introduction. And I think that with that, let me go over to the presentation. I'm going to talk about climate negotiation. I'm talking about this because this is hardly being discussed at the public domain in India. How the climate negotiation goes. We talk about climate Paris and all, but how the climate negotiation generally is being going throughout the world. In November 2021, COVID willing, will be again joining in Glasgow to talk about climate change. And this is a very, very important time of the world. COVID has shown us how a small virus can stop the entire world from rolling. I say this is just a trailer. Picture abhi baki hai. Climate change, when it comes into the picture, will show how meager this COVID is. This is as big as that. So with that kind of thing, let me go over to the presentation. Presentation, take to honey. So I'm going to my presentation and let's start. I'll be talking about climate change negotiation. I'll be talking about Sundarban. Hopefully there will be people who are interested about it. Let on that note. Am I is the presentation visible, Akashlina?
Yes, sir.
Great. So with that, let me start that, as I said, the chasing climate change negotiation from Copenhagen to Madrid with focus on Sundarbans. I have been kind of chasing this negotiation as a journalist, as an UN observer, kind of for the over the last decade or so, and I'll be sharing my experience with you. This cover picture, apart from few pictures of mine, go to the right side of the picture, go to the center and the right one. Don't wait until it's too late. This particular poster is part of Greta Thunberg. You must have heard of everybody about Greta Thunberg, young girl from Sweden, how she changed the entire discourse of
Sir,
entire movement. Okay, yes, is
sorry
it?
interrupt you once, sir. Can you please hide that bar that is showing up in the bottom?
What?
That toolbar that is showing in the bottom?
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
just click on the hide option there.
Okay. Let me see. Okay, fine, got it.
Yes,
Fine.
sir.
Is it okay
Thank you.
now? Great.
Yes, sir.
So as I was saying that this particular hoarding is in Madrid when Greta Thunberg almost laid a procession of millions in the middle, the heart of Madrid town. I was fortunate to be part of that. So that is one part of from that. Don't wait until it's too late. Already we are being too late. Don't wait further. And the right side photograph, the top one on the right side, that is from island of Sundarban, Maushuni Island. I am sure that you must have heard about it in newspapers in recent times, post years or again post Amphan some time back. This is one of the most vulnerable island, and every day, the seawater comes and put them in absolute distress. So that's the Sundarban for us. So let's go over to uh, let's start the story from here. Let's begin the story with what we call sky versus skyline. See, if you look at if you have a camera and you have been going out for holiday or whatever, and you start photographing. If you photograph the sky based on the season, the sky looks same. Whether it is Calcutta or California or Colorado, the sky looks same. But the problem is when you pan your camera down and go to see the skyline. The skyline goes different, whether it is Bihar or in Sundarban or Bangladesh or Doha or Johannesburg. The skyline is getting changed. The rich countries have one kind of skyline. The poor countries have different kind of skyline. This is a very interesting photograph. Look at the left side central photograph. That is a very interesting photograph because that was where I first went and covered the climate conference that is in Copenhagen. And look at this, that this is the place where the conference was held. The place name is Bela Center. And even right behind that, you can see the fume coming out from the industries. So that's quite an interesting coincidence. Fine. Now, why it's same sky and different skyline? Why that mystery? The mystery lies right out here. Look at this document is from the Government of India's negotiation document, and you find that if you do a simple calculation, that the entire atmospheric space that we have and the entire population we have, if you divide the entire atmospheric space by the entire population space, you can find out the per capita legal right of emission. But look at USA. They are having much more sky share than they should have. They are having 28.4% sky share. It's a figure till 2009. This figure gets revised every 10 years, so very soon we'll get the new figure. But as of 2009 even, they are being occupying 29%, almost 29% sky share, where their legitimate share is 4.6. In contrast, India's legitimate share is 17.4%, and India hardly gets 2.6%. So that's basically tells us the story that the sky being hijacked by the rich, by the developed countries, and that's why the skyline is different in the poor countries. So on and so forth. I don't want to go repeat on that, but this is very important. If we calculate how much sky space we do have to put this emission, then we have to have a rider. What kind of, because we all know that emission leads to temperature rise. Carbon dioxide emission or greenhouse gas emission leads to the temperature rise. So if we target the temperature rise by 2 degrees as the world targets now, your total space is 3000 gigaton in the atmosphere. And out of the 3000, already 2000 is gone. So 1000 gigaton is presently left. And all these bickerings, all this politics across the world is all about this 1000 gigaton. And the whole political discourse becomes even more difficult, even more complicated if you target it 1.5 degree. If you target 1.5 degree, naturally you allow less emission. And then you hardly can have another 750 gigaton is presently left. So whatever you are seeing all over the world for the climate change, be it Paris, be it Madrid, be it every Copenhagen or anywhere, this is the basic reason why it is happening like that. Now, this is an interesting model by the UK government. They showed that even if the world sea level rise is just 10 inches, even less than a scale, then this is going to be the world's new geography. All the red areas are gone. Look at India. Look at India's map. Apart from Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, everything is gone. Even the West Bengal is completely gone. So this is what we are predicting, what the scientists are predicting, what the world kind of research is predicting, that if sea level rise goes to that level, 10 inches all over the world, this is the fate that is beckoning us. So we need to stop that if we want to survive, because we don't have any planet B to survive. We have only one planet, that is the planet this world. Now coming on that, how we go about it. You know, there is something called UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Now, this UNFCCC is a political body where about 200 countries, their representatives constitute this IPCC, this UNFCCC. But this UNFCCC has to depend on scientific background, scientific material that is provided by this IPCC. IPCC, as you know, Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change, about 2,000 to 3,000 scientists from all over the world. They kind of assemble and they get hold of all the researches being happening all over the world, the credible peer-reviewed researchers. They put those researchers in one place, and from there they kind of find out where do we stand right now, and they also kind of predict where we are leading to, and also warn the political leaders that you need to do this if you want to survive. The latest IPCC AR5 report is with us, and that shows that the the impact is extremely high right now. Unless we take decisive actions to limit global warming below 2 degrees centigrade, we are not in an absolutely comfortable situation. They call this report the most authentic. The report warns that failing to take rapid action will make future climate mitigation strategies difficult and even more expensive. They're saying that the anthropogenic greenhouse gas emission are now the highest in the history. As of now, it is, I think, 416 ppm by carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So that's extremely high. So we are not at all in a kind of position of comfort. They're saying the world will have to reduce. That's the line. That's a very, very important line. The world will have to reduce its greenhouse gas emission by 40 to 70% by 2050 compared to 2010, and emission levels near zero or below in 2100 to keep the global temperature rise below 2 degrees centigrade. Even 2 degrees centigrade is not good enough. That's the world has found. But even if we kind of target 2 degrees centigrade, that's what we need to do. Now, world had to produce 80% of its electricity from low carbon sources by 2050. That's how I was talking about at the very beginning, opening up opportunities for research, opening up opportunities for employment, opening up opportunities for various, I would say, discourses regarding climate change. And unless we do that, severe, widespread, and irreversible impacts globally is awaiting us. Now, there are so many other things I'm not going, but what important thing I need to say, that everything is not unwell or everything is not out of hand. Actions to fight climate change are affordable if they are taken right away. So that's what they are saying. Now, where do we stand? Now, somebody may turn around and say, that's so fine. There is emission. What's wrong about it? How we are going to be affected by this emission? That's a result for you. The decadal result design or disaster damage. How the disasters have been increasing.
Sir, sorry to interrupt you once more. There is a green box that is occurring on the top of the. It's actually blocking the right up there.
Let me see if I can hide it.
Yes, sir.
I cannot. I have been shown no option to hide. Just hold for a second.
Yes, sir.
এইটা তো কি করা যায়? এটাকে হাইড করা যাবে? Now it's gone. It's
yes,
okay
sir.
now.
Thank you so much. Yes,
fine. So fine. Now look at the disaster damage. I have taken USA as the benchmark because USA is considered by one of the countries in the world which is more resistant or resilient to disaster. They have that infrastructure. Boston is considered as the city in the world which can counter disasters. Look at the comparison. In 1980 to 1995, how many disasters? 46. In next 15 years, it almost doubled. So when US is like that, and look at also the cost part of it, and India already having 143 in one decade, Bangladesh, a small country, about 72. And the right side, you can see the global scenario, how consistently from 2000 to 2020, the number of disasters has increased throughout the world. Now, coming to the Indian part, climate finance impact should be seen India's climate finance impact. It's a very latest paper. It's the latest paper by ODI, a very eminent literature journal. It's just being released, I think, on 8th June. That is saying that how India is being impacting not only the life but livelihood. It is saying that India's 3% GDP is at stake if 1 degree centigrade global warming continues. It is saying that India's national poverty rate can increase by 3.5% by 2040 if we continue business as usual. This is another very interesting map, and I really would like all of you to have a close look at it. This report is prepared every year by a very prominent and eminent organization called German Watch. They called it Global Climate Risk Index. Now, that Global Climate Risk Index gives you the figure in two ways. In one way, they give it for a prolonged period from 1999. It is the latest one. It is a 2021 report which considered data till 2018. So from 1999 to 2018, there's one set of figure, and then only for 2018, another set of figure. Look at the two figures. From 1999 to 2018, India's climate risk index score is 38 point something. Lower the score, higher the impact. Look at that. And India's position is globally third. And India's losses in million ranking is third. GDP ranking is way down, 58, simply because India has a huge economy. But when you come to 2018, look at the improvement we have done in the negative way. From third place to now we are first. We are the global topper when it comes to fatalities. We are the globally second position when it comes to the losing money. So that's where we are. There is a huge impact. We are talking about various other economic losses, but the economic impact of climate change is huge in India, has been very clearly understood. And I am referring a very latest report, a report that released on 4 days back, 8th June. That's the report. No, that's not the report. The earlier report I mentioned. This is the 2021 report. So on and so forth. I don't want to kind of spend time on this. What I'm saying that those are official and those are, I would say, figures. But we do also know the story. You have seen how Kerala has been completely washed out, how Uttarakhand has been repeatedly kind of completely impacted by series of extreme weather events, how Kashmir has been affected, how Chennai has been affected, how Mumbai has been affected, Kolkata has been affected time and again, but not to that scale. Perhaps the next big one is for Kolkata. So what I'm trying to drive at, that one side the emission is increasing, the disaster is increasing, not only in theory but in practical. We can all see it, we all read it, we all are kind of being impacted by this huge amount of climate change. That takes us to the moot question: how the climate politics, how the climate negotiation plans to deal with this scenario. Put it very bluntly and put it very, I would say, summarizing, Kyoto, as we know, Kyoto in early 1992, 93, the Kyoto promised a lot, because Kyoto, where the first legal agreement between the countries took place, where the developed countries pledged to cut their emission by around 5.2%. Then Bali in Indonesia, another conference where it was talked about the responsibility of emission cut. But since Copenhagen, and coincidentally, that's the place where I first time being part of a global negotiation, Copenhagen. From Copenhagen to Madrid, this whole decade is a story of politics winning over people. People need the emission to cut. People need emission to cut to survive. But politics, the narrow political gains, the narrow political agendas of all the countries in the world, or the most countries of the world, ensure that people don't get what they want. And if we look at the UNFCCC principle, as I talked about UNFCCC at the very beginning, common but differentiated responsibility. That every country has a responsibility, but these are differentiated. Specific needs and special circumstances. Precautionary measure. Promote sustainable development. These are high words. These are very kind of, I would say, big words, big statements. But are we actually getting it? No. There are a series of negotiations. If you look at the history of it, from 1992 to 2008-9, you can see, I'm not going to repeat those. Then there's 1997 is the Kyoto, where I was talking about. Then 2007 to 2015, that's where the Paris Agreement was signed. The Paris Agreement which many considered at that point of time the game changer agreement in the world. But before Paris, Copenhagen to Lima, uh, a story needs to be told. Copenhagen is a beautiful city. Let me share a story with you that Copenhagen, when I first time visited, as I said, first climate conference for me was Copenhagen. And once we were a team about 10 journalists from all over India being selected and nominated to cover the Copenhagen Climate Conference. And when we reached there, it was a very chilly, almost -1 temperature. And in the airport, uh, from the airport, there was those cities are very highly dependent on public transport. So not like Calcutta that you just hail a taxi or take a car and go off. You can't do that. You need to take the metro or the train or something. So we took a metro. We took a metro, and we find that all over Copenhagen, wherever from the place we were going through, the name was changed. It was called Copenhagen because the entire world was hoping that with the US President Barack Obama at that point of time, Indian Prime Minister, Chinese Premier, the British President, Prime Minister, the French President, everybody was there, and the world was hoping that the world will reach to a kind of a negotiated position where the world will survive. So that's why they called it Copenhagen. But unfortunately, Copenhagen completely flopped. It was I was privy to that meeting, 18 hours long meeting. I was there in that Bella Center conference, and I saw in my own eyes. Maybe another day I can talk about those stories, not today, that how this entire Copenhagen agreement fell down and how the entire thing got down. There, America made some pledges about money, but that money never came the way it should have been. Then, after Copenhagen, a huge flop, huge failure came Cancun, Mexico, even more wonderful city, a city beside sea beach, a fascinating city. But the kind of a complete breakdown that we saw in Copenhagen somehow kind of got restored a bit in Cancun. See the photograph in Cancun, hope with a question mark. So hope came back with a question mark. Durban, very interesting, a new emission regime. Everybody agreed that okay, from 2020 2015 we will sign an agreement in Paris where everybody will cut the emission, the smallest of the countries to the largest of the countries. Definitely the emission cut scale will be different, but everybody will take responsibility. As I said, common but differentiated responsibility. Kyoto Protocol continued but diluted. Then came Doha. Doha continued something called Durban Action Plan. The scientists tried to find out how agriculture, transport, those impacted climate change and how we can kind of come out of it. A new term also being generated in Doha. It's called loss and damage. Those of you who follow climate change a bit uh, know that there are two terms called mitigation and adaptation, which generally the steps to counter climate change. You either adapt to a certain scenario to survive the climate impact, or you mitigate, you change it. You have a house which is not good enough to counter flooding, so you change the house. It's called mitigation. Or you make the house change in a manner so that the house remains, but you adapt better. So that's adaptation. But a new term came in Doha. It's called loss and damage. Scientists and activists say, fine, you are talking about adaptation. You are talking about mitigation. Fair enough. But what will happen? The damage that we have already incurred. Adaptation and mitigation are for the future. But what is to be done about the damage that we have already incurred? So that's called loss and damage, a very, very important component. And Sundarban is one of the contender of getting support from globally in context to that. Finally, to Paris, a fascinating city, Eiffel Tower and whatnot, Seine River, brilliant city. I'm a big fan of Paris. I've been to Paris at least 3 times. A brilliant city. Now, in Paris, all the countries made prior agreement. There's prior commitment to reduce greenhouse gas through INDC. INDC is the intended national that how much emission commitment. So intended nationally declared commitment. Okay, India will cut down this much. US will cut down this much. And whole effort was to keep the global temperature below 2 degrees centigrade. Now, with that kind of background, Paris was a success. The kind of different countries, they differed, but they ultimately agreed to come out with an agreement. That was a bit of a diluted agreement, but still an agreement was reached. Everybody agreed to cut emission, and Paris was, as I said, considered as a watershed moment, as a game changer moment in the climate negotiation globally. As I said, it was a kind of a, I would say, compromise agreement, but still an agreement. And then after number of other conferences, we came to Paris, we came to Madrid just before the COVID struck in 2019, 2020, 2019 December. The Madrid agreement happened, and I am just showing some photographs with you. That's a fascinating, unbelievable kind of procession, young and old and everybody. I saw people from 7 years, child from 7 years to elderly of 80 years, walking side by side in wheelchair, demanding that the world needs to be protected. And that's a very interesting word. All you need is less, and don't wait until it's too late. Now, that's one of my telegraph copy. That is our art safer now. Now, I kind of coming before going to Sundarban, I need to talk about 15 minutes on Sundarban or writing about that. I would like to say what happened in Madrid. Madrid, again, was a bit of a failure. Madrid, in climate negotiators, they managed to stitch a highly compromised and weak agreement on key issues. And this happened even after 48 hours of extra talking time. Just think about it, 2 full days. The international conference continued 2 days beyond the scheduled completion. Why? Because the countries could not come together and agree that how the world will progress on this climate negotiation. You may ask me that, sir, why every year this is happening? And then why if it is happening, what the way out of it? My point is that this UNF triple C structure you need to know. Here there is no voting system. There are 200 countries who participate in the climate negotiation all over the world. And it's not like that. It's not like our election that 101 voted for a thing, 99 voted against it. So 101 view will be taken as the final view. No. This is a structure where everybody has to agree. Unless 200 countries agree on a point, that point cannot be accepted as a final point. So it's a difficult thing. When everybody has to agree, it is a difficult thing. But the better good side of it, if everybody agree, the thing move on. So good or bad, in Madrid, it's a highly compromised and weak agreement on key issues. Because why it is so? Because the world is understanding now the time is running out. The time is running out from the world. Already we are having a temperature rise of around 1.1 degrees centigrade. And the whole discourse is saying that it can go out to even 3 to 5 degrees centigrade. Just imagine if 1.5 degrees centigrade increases, part of the world will be history. The geography will turn history. If 2 degree, even complicated, as I showed you. So if it is 3 to 5 degree, the world will not continue to be a habitable place. It has to be an abundant place. So that is the kind of urgency. We call it climate urgency. That's the urgency we are right in, how to survive this world. So that's where Madrid failed a bit. And I have given link of one of my Springer article on the global geopolitics on climate change, and you can have a look at that. Now, media's role. Media is being playing all over a very, very important role. And in these conferences like, say, Copenhagen, or I would say in Paris, thousands of journalists from all over the world, few from India, go there. And apart from being media role, I have been trying to push on the agenda of Sundarbans. And you can see this, the top photograph is our environment minister and the Bangladesh environment minister with us talking about Sundarban. But coming back to the media, there are two significant media discourse I just showed. You can perhaps know this lady, Sunita Narayan, one of the frontline environmental activists, environmentalists, and environment journalists in the country, who is the director of Center for Science and Agreement, one of the frontline, I would say, organizations on environment and climate change globally, definitely in South Asia. And the right side with me in front of Eiffel Tower is another very senior journalist called Joydeep Gupta, who director of Art Journalism Network, and also who basically kind of look after the third pole, South Asia. South Asian third pole is a very prestigious publication. So these are all being major contributors. Now, before coming to the Sundarban, I would like to kind of complete the negotiation part with this. As right now, today is the 12th June 2021, we are sitting and discoursing, talking about climate change. We are looking towards the Glasgow. Glasgow, the next climate conference, COP26. It's called COP. COP means Conference of Parties. Parties means not the political parties, but the governments. But apart from governments, civil society, media, academics, researchers all congregate during these COPs. Now we are leading to the Glasgow COP. Last year, 2020, Glasgow was supposed to be held, but it could not due to COVID. This year, COVID willing, Glasgow will be held. You can see a right side, my post edit, an op-ed of mine in Telegraph from Paris to Glasgow. And these are, I really would like you to have a close look at the pointers that I have mentioned. This is one page, a summary of where do we stand and where we need to go. Report impacts. Number of reports are saying that 1.5 degree is bad enough. 2 degree is worse, and more than 2 degree is disastrous. So it is called emission gap. What is emission gap? Emission gap is, as I said, all the countries have committed to a certain emission cut in Paris. But now the experts are calculating that even the countries, even if they kind of stand up to their commitment and actually cut that emission, even that is not good enough. They need to have more ambition, so that emission gap, emission what we need to cut and emission what they have committed, that gap needs to be filled up. So they need to increase their ambition to more emission cut. Second is, as I said, ambition gap. Climate finance is very important. Private, public, from wherever. Loss and damage not taken off, very important, needs to push on. Peaking year, we all have to finalize our peaking year. Peaking year means emission peaking. The developed countries like USA, like Europe, like many other countries, they should pick up immediately because they have already exploited the fossil fuel resources to the hilt. But a country like India, a country like China, South Africa, Brazil, who have a lot of poverty. India has some thousands of villages where there is no energy. So we need to pick, definitely we need to pick, but perhaps we'll pick around 2050. Maybe we'll take another 10, 15 years to pick. But the developed countries should pick immediately. So that's something need to be decided. The rule book. Rule book means when the Paris Agreement has been signed, certain norms have been there. That is called the rules. Those rule books need to be finalized because policy is one thing and the norm is other thing. The norm is yet to be fully prepared. That needs to be done. Climate security, a new issue, but very important issue. As I was saying, climate is a very horizontal issue. Bangladesh water level is increasing faster than India. So really, if Bangladesh water level increases very fast, then a lot of people may come from Bangladesh to India. So if tomorrow, just like what happened due to the political reasons in 71 or something like that, if tomorrow 5 lakh or 10 lakh people from Bangladesh comes to India, what will happen to our security? I'm not talking about Bangladesh and India. It can happen in every part of the world. So climate-related security is very important. Very important for the city and regional voices to become louder. India as a country can talk about climate change. Yes, it should. But a city like Bombay, the city like Kolkata, the city like Delhi, who are at the front level of this climate change. Kolkata is hardly 100 kilometers away from Sundarban, 100 kilometers away from sea. So in Kolkata can be impacted any time. So This regional voices have to become louder. People voice becoming already louder. Market mechanism is getting bigger. As I said, that there are various market mechanism. I really don't have the time to detailing on that. This is a much longer discourse we need, perhaps someday somewhere. Technology transfer, very important. How the developed countries need to give technology to the developing country so that we can prosper, we can have development, but not the way they have done. They have the development by burning fossil fuel, but we need to develop without burning fossil fuel the way they had done. So this technology has to come from the developed country to the developing country. And also the very importantly, post and during COVID-19 world implication. Now we are in a different world. COVID-19 previous and COVID-19 after worlds are different worlds. This is a different world completely. So in this world, how we can survive and how the climate change needs to be seen has to be look around. These are various articles. Now I am coming, another 10-15 minutes I have. I am coming to the Sundarban, somewhere, something very close to our heart, something close to our geography, something very close to our mind. This is the Bengali editorial of mine in Ananda Bazar, just after the Paris. The Paris is history, but what about the state environment? Well, Sundarban has huge displacement and impact of climate change. And when we talk about Sundarban, you need to know that Sundarban is an ecological area, an ecosystem, an ecozone, which is a transboundary one. Two-thirds of Sundarban is in Bangladesh and one-third in India. That's the reason why I have, since 2010, I have been consistently pushing in global level, through World Bank and everywhere, that India and Bangladesh need to talk together on Sundarban. In fact, this is a lecture I actually give in Madrid as part of a COP program in 2019, December 7th. I could see the date and remember that lecture is part of it. Now, Sundarban, how climate change is impacting it? Very quickly. There are immediate impact. We all know how the cyclone Yas has impacted. We all have seen before that last year how Amphan has impacted. So there are immediate impact, which put the life and livelihoods of the physical existence in a bad shape. There are long-term impacts. When for after Yas, kilometer after kilometer has been inundated with saline water, the livelihood has gone for a toss because the agriculture has been affected. If you have a saline water in an agriculture field for 2-3 years, you can't have the agriculture unless it's being washed away by the monsoon. So you are in a trouble. A lot of people depend on fishery. If there is a lot of salinity in the river due to these cyclones and the impacts, then you are in a trouble. And there's a lot of erosion. Sundarban sea level rise is about 8 millimeter per year, which is double than the global average. And also Sundarban being a young island, being settling down in a rate of around 4 millimeter per year. So effectively about 11-12 millimeter per year, the land and the water coming closer. So that is leading to a lot of erosion. And in last 5 decades, 50 years, Sundarban has lost about 200 square kilometer of area. How big is that? That is as big as the city of Kolkata. So Sundarban has lost a city of Kolkata like area in the last 5 decades due to climate change. You hear about Ghodamara, you hear about Lohachora, which is already gone, Ghodamara partially gone, Maushuni affected. But what is the solution? Maybe another time, but we can see how big is the vulnerability. Sundarban is having around 45 lakh people, 4.5 million people. Now, out of this 4.5 million, let me go to the next slide. You can see there is a violet line. You can see this. This is the dark green part is the core Sundarban forest. You can see the dark green part is the core Sundarban forest. And you can see that green line, which light green line, which border lines, and the violet line. The area between these is having this around, the area behind this is having around 358 villages, which is around 1/4 of the population of Sundarban. They are right now at the doorstep of disaster. And this is a World Bank study, which clearly shows that the people living in this transition zone are highly impacted and are can face disaster at any point of time, as we have seen repeatedly. There's so many parts of it. The high intensity storms are increasing the cyclones. The cyclones which earlier were mainly in the Andhra Pradesh part in the east coast are now moving towards Sundarban. So there's a lot of factor. But what I'm trying to drive at here is that if you compare Sundarban with the global scenario, then how big is Sundarban? Sundarban, if you take India and Bangladesh together, is twice compared to the country like Qatar, Jamaica, Lebanon. And if you consider the vulnerable countries like Maldives or Marshall Island or Kiribati in West Indies, this is 60 times, 100 times, 25 times larger. So that basically drives home the impact. The population-wise, Sundarban is bigger than Bolivia, Cuba, Portugal, Greece, and whatnot. And there are so many impacts. Even the impact-wise, Sundarban is being affected much more than the other countries are. This table is very important. This is a very important table. This table has been initially created by IPCC. I just have included the Sundarban part. See, population-wise, where the other small islands are having hardly 1 lakh population or maybe 60,000 population, Sundarban, taking India and Bangladesh together, is having 13 million people. Within that, Indian Sundarban is around 4.5 to 5 million. The population density is very high. Annual per capita income is extremely low. Look at the comparison with other countries, how low it is. It is very important because financial resilience gives you social resilience. If you have money, just think about the city of Kolkata. You stay in a multi-storied, in a fifth floor or sixth floor, or even a two-storied house. You have money, so you have all the materials ready in your house. You know that a storm is coming, a cyclone is coming. So your parents or your family gathered material and put it in a house, and you comfortably can enjoy the sultry weather sitting back in your room for 3 or 4 days. But think about the person who live in a slum, how he can survive, how she can survive, how the little child can survive in a slum of Kolkata. They cannot. So financial resilience gives you the social resilience. So their Sundarban is extremely low, the resilience is very low. Sea level rise is very high. So look at all the negative factors are with Sundarban. Population high, population density high, per capita income low, sea level rise high, and you can have cyclone, sea level rise, mangrove destruction, and that's where you see the so many destruction. And Sundarban has a lot of displacement. There are various theories, but the actual figure nobody knows. But a recent study it's called a DECMA study by Jadavpur University. They showed that 60 to 70% families in Sundarban is having some kind of migration. Not necessarily the entire family went off to other place. What has happened? That has because with this increasing number of climatic impacts, the livelihoods are getting lost, livelihoods are getting for a toss. So people have to go out. Either people are coming to the city like Kolkata for some job, or they are going to Delhi or Kerala or somewhere. The women go closer, the males go wider for such a money. So that's where it is because of this whole kind of their vulnerability and their low socio-economic resilience. They have to migrate. But now, see, the unfortunate part of it is a migratory U-turn. With the COVID impacting all over the country, all over the world, these people have rushed back. Nothing to do. Nothing to do. With that, the climate change impacts getting larger and larger, piggybacking with whatever already there. So that's the situation. There are some very interesting. You can see even the climate change is not sparing the symmetries. You can see how the climate bites off the Bengal toe. There's so many, so on and so forth. I had the opportunity of working with Sundarban for more than a decade, and I always strongly feel that there is a solution. Sundarban, there are some scientists who feel that people have to take out from Sundarban to be saved. I don't agree to that because Sundarban, as I said, is about 5 million people. You really cannot take out 5 million people. It is difficult even to take out 5,000 people. Yes, it's a fact. Where Sundarban is being impacted, the areas like Maushuni or Ghodamara, extremely vulnerable, people had to shift. No way out. People have to be shipped. Either they themselves will shift or the government will ensure they're shifting. They are stopgap shifting. But to save the wider Sundarban, you need to put resilience in situ. The resilience in situ program need to be done. Now, that's why perhaps I will interact with you later through ENA or whatever, that we need to find out a solution by 2030. We don't need to talk about 2050, 2100. If Sundarban needs to be saved, it needs to be saved immediately. And as I said, India and Bangladesh need to talk together. And also, we need to look at the mirror. People, I don't know how many people are seeing this program or how many people will see later in the YouTube. But those of you, I think most of you of the Kolkata or wider Kolkata or bigger Kolkata, you tend to, we keep on saying that unless Sundarban survives, Kolkata will not survive. Fair enough. But what Kolkata is doing to ensure Sundarban survival? Only when an Ayla happens, when Kolkata gets disoriented for a couple of days, Kolkata gets distraught, we lost electricity, water. A very interesting line I saw from poet Srijato when Amphan happened, that we are saying যে কলকাতায় আমরা যারা আছি বাড়িতে জল নেই, বাড়িতে ইলেকট্রিসিটি নেই, বাড়িতে কিচ্ছু নেই, এরকম বলছি। আর সুন্দরবনের মানুষ বলছে বাড়িটাই নেই। So that's the difference. We have our house. We might have been inconvenienced, but inconvenience and disaster risk is different. Sundarban is under acute disaster risk, but Kolkata is inconvenienced. And unless Sundarban with his mangrove wall stops the storms to come in, Kolkata and the entire South Bengal will be at absolute kind of distress. Perhaps another day we can discuss the modalities of it. But this is Sundarban right now. Look at these photographs. This left top photograph is a person who happens to be the Panchayat Pradhan in Ghodamara Island. Panchayat Pradhan means the top person, the administratively topmost person in a island. He himself has taken refuge on the roof of his house, and you can see also at the back a lot of people are there. You can see how people are taking refuge on abandoned house, they're taking their child on their shoulder. How the storm is kind of completely breaking down. People are making effort to stop those. I have seen reports, and I myself have seen people actually tried to stop the flood with their body. Human world trying to stop a flood in Sundarban during the last years. So this is as bad as that. It can't become even worse. You can see how the roads being broken midway, and you cannot really distinguish between a river and the village post this Yas and even before in Sangtown. I will end up with this final photograph and final slide of mine. This is a bit of an old slide, I think 4 or 5 years back. This young girl, she lives in a place called Shonada village, part of Goshaba block in Sundarban. And now, when Ayla happened, all these houses, you can see a ramshackled mud house out there. These all houses were within the embankment, the mud embankment. You can also see the embankment there. You can also see the embankment in the left, kind of a residual embankment. Now, what happened when Ayla happened? The entire embankment completely got eroded, completely got dismantled and broken, breached. Water gushed in, completely sucked the entire village. Now, post that, government reached and they again prepared another embankment inside. But these people do not have the money. I was talking about the financial resilience, I was talking about the social resilience. These people don't have the money to procure land within the newly built embankment. So they themselves have left their fate towards God and just had their house there. What happens? Every day, I am repeating, every day, when twice the high tide happens, not the Yas, not the Amphan, I'm saying about the routine days, 365 days in a year. every day when water increases in high tide, 50% of their house got completely inundated. And they, if they have to have any emergency, they have to come to the within island, they have to swim from their house to the island. And this girl, this is the time when the water is receding a bit, so she is running, but other time she has to walk past. This is happening to a girl who lives 100 kilometers away from us, and she has done no blunder in her life, or her family has not done any blunder to be in this situation. They hardly use energy. They are not contributing anything to the global climate cauldron, but they are being impacted. And the people like us who live in urban cities, who live in Kolkata, who live in other places, are contributing to the cause. And this is hardly 100 kilometers away from us. And the day is not far away when this will come to us. If we do not go, if we do not go to Sundarban, if we do not reach out to Sundarban, that time is not far enough. Well, Sundarban will embrace us. That will not be a happy situation. So with that, I conclude. I think I have concluded right at time. Any question, anybody? Thanks everybody for your time. I can I kind of switch off this presentation,
Yes,
Akashlina?
sir. Yes, sir.
Great. Great.
Thank you so much, sir, for your such an informative and wonderful presentation. We are so honored to have you. And our audience, yes, we have a few questions. So,
Sure.
sir, is it okay if we can start with
Fine.
the
Fair enough.
questions right now?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Why
sir.
not?
Okay. So, our first question is from Prabhat Kumar Swain. How effective to reduce global temperatures below 2 degree centigrade, even there is protocol, is the world has changed a certain time frame to achieve this target?
Uh, yes, I think as I already said that there are studies from IPCC which showed that even 1.5 degree is bad. 2 degrees definitely worse. So now the protocol is that what the as I already mentioned in my presentation, that Paris Agreement has some benchmarks what every country has to reduce emission, but we have to accept and admit that those are not good enough. So we need to be more ambitious. The countries need to be more ambitious. I didn't speak about it recently. There is something called uh, USA, United States of America, under Barack Obama, sorry, under Donald Trump, they they went out of the Paris Agreement because Donald Trump was a self-declared uh, climate skeptic. He didn't believe in climate impact. So he said that US will be out of it. So he went out of it. But fortunately, after he lost, the new president, Joe Biden, again joined hands, and they organized something called Net Zero Conference. This Net Zero Conference means every country has to say, not may not be right now, but soon, that when they will reach net zero, means whatever I emit, that I produce. So what amount of emission I am doing, I am also sucking that emission. So that net zero level we need to reach. So if the net zero level is not reached by 2050 or likewise, or 2060 or likewise, it's very difficult. As of now, we are keeping our finger crossed. We are targeting 2 degrees.
Okay, sir. Our next question is from Shagornil Marik. In the Glasgow Agenda, there is a point that is technology transfer to the developing world, but there are certain technologies that may transmit radiation. So, how to deal with it?
Well, let us first have the basket, and then we open up the basket and see whether it has mangoes or oranges. Uh, First, we need to know that technology has to come. Now, which technology will come, whether that will have radiation issue or not, whether that is have other issues or not, we can always discuss that. We can always, our scientists in India or elsewhere in developing countries can take a call on that. But the first job is to have the technology. And when I'm talking saying technology, I'm talking about the peer-reviewed technology. So that issue of radiation, others will not come. It's not a technology that somebody just prepared at the back of his house and sell it to us. It's a well accepted, scientifically accepted, peer-reviewed technology. So I hope that kind of sort of things will not ensure that any radiation or something of that.
Okay, sir. So our next question is again from Prabhat Kumar Swain. How can every part of the world be guaranteed by climate security as a prospective target since world has different demographic regions?
Yes, a big challenge, a big challenge. I think the lack of equity, the inequity actually is the trigger, not the demographic part, but the inequity. Uh, if you look at Syria, if you look at Iraq, Iran, if you look at USA, if you look at Mexico, this lack of equity is very, very apparent everywhere. So the climate security will be an issue. And I went to Germany. They have a climate politics 2050 discourse a year back, when specifically this climate security issue was addressed with their minister. We had about 17 people from all over the world were there. So this is being now discussed upon. This is now being discussed upon. Very difficult, but the world has to survive together. India cannot survive and say that Bangladesh will not survive. And so we need to survive together. India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, all the countries in South Asia, all the countries in the world need to survive together. It's not a either it's one or all. So we have to deal with that. We have to live with that.
Thank you, sir.
That's a new world. That's a new world. As I say, that the new world is a new world. Yes.
So our next question is from Olipriya Shabui. How is it possible to shift to zero carbon economy?
No, it's a great challenge. It's not a overnight. You can't do that. Uh, uh, we have to first go to the low carbon economy, and then we need to go to the zero carbon economy. So when we are talking about the low carbon economy, for example, look at Kolkata. Kolkata has their public transport mainly run on fossil fuel, diesel and petrol, mainly diesel. Now you see that electric buses is coming. It means you are reducing the footprint. You are reducing the carbon footprint. So gradually you have to ensure both in your personal livelihoods, your social livelihoods, your collective livelihoods, and the government action, those kind of actions which are low carbon actions, we all need to reduce our footprint very consciously. And when we are doing all reducing the footprints, including the government, then the overall footprint will get reduced. So it is a gradual process. You just cannot jump, say, okay, from today we are going to the zero carbon economy. We can't do that. We have to go step by step. As I said, the developed countries have to go it quickly, and the developing country or the countries like India, which we call emerging economies, will gradually go to that. The time level will be different, but the target is same. We'll be all reaching there. Maybe the time will be different when we'll be reaching there.
Yes, sir. So next question is from Bijoy Bishash. Will shifting towards nuclear energy help to mitigate these problems in future? If yes, then what would be correct strategy so that we don't have to see another Chernobyl or Fukushima Daiichi?
A very contentious question. Definitely, many feel that nuclear energy is an option when we are trying to reduce the fossil fuel energy. We have to bank up on other mode of energies, the renewable energies, so to say, and their nuclear energy has a role to play. But as you very rightly mentioned about Chernobyl or Fukushima or something like that, it has huge consequences. So we have to understand the trade-off. We have to understand the trade-off. As of now, I can only tell you that globally, even globally, the nuclear is not the preferred mode of alternate energy. Definitely, solar tops it. Wind is very quickly coming up. Then we are also having the hydropower, the countries which are having hydropower. Then the kind of a smaller things like biomass energy or waste to energy. So those are the priorities right now. Yes, nuclear is being used by some countries, but unless we have foolproof systems, uh, very difficult to switch over to nuclear in a big way.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Our next question is from Mr. Pranav Roy. Climate change all over the world is responsible for the destruction of Sundarban ecosystem. All this is caused by human activity. It is anthropogenic? Can we reverse this?
I think another 1 hour to discuss this. Is a very, very important topics and a very favorite topics of mine as well. But I can very shortly can say nature has this uncanny ability to reverse if you allow it to reverse. Uh, Many environmental experts say that you just don't need to do anything. You just stave off. You come off from the nature, let it kind of resurrect itself. So Sundarban is like that. Sundarban, uh, for example, Sundarban ecosystem has not damaged the way I would say that irreversible. There are issues with our embankments. There are issues with mangrove destruction. But if you allow this kind of activities like you cut mangroves, if you don't do that, give Sundarban 5 years time, it will get back. And as far the climate change impact is concerned, as I said, uh, perhaps some other time we can talk in details. We need to put a resilience plan in situ. We have to put up a resilience plan. We need see entire Sundarban. When he says Sundarban, we are saying the entire Sundarban. Entire Sundarban is not under threat. I am telling you, only the part of Sundarban, the western part of Sundarban, like like Shagor, Ghoramara, Maushuni, Pathar Pratima, Namkhana, these 4 or 5 blocks in the western part, these are very affected. Then if you go to the central part like Goshaba, there are certain areas being affected. And then you go to the northern part like Hingalgon, Chandesh, Khalid are affected. So my estimate around maybe 10-15 lakhs people these are affected. So you have to prepare a strategy where you prioritize so which area we need to take care of first, build a plan, execute that plan, and then go to the next place. So if you take a proper plan, if you do a proper kind of analysis and kind of come up with a proper plan, not there's no point in being ad hoc and jumping on it. You need to have a plan at place, and you need to think quickly. Don't talk about 2050. Don't talk about 2100. I have actually floated an idea called Coalition to Save Sundarban by 2025 plus 5. So we need to see how Sundarban can be saved by 2030. Then we'll take off on 2050. So yes, I think we can reverse it to a certain extent, but we need to have a plan. And not only the physical plan, not only the physical plan to save the embankments, also the plan of social resilience. The physical resilience and the social resilience need to go hand in hand. Then only Sundarban can be resurrected and reversed.
Yes, sir. Certainly. Certainly. Our next question is again from Vijay Vishas. Is it possible for a country like India to take Iceland as a role model in case of using renewable energy? Do renewable energy have the potential to cope up with the increasing demand of energy?
I'm a quite a strong critic of the present union government on environmental ground. I'm not saying the other thing, but I think on one point you need to give them credit is the renewable energy. This present government, Indian union government, is really doing a lot on on solar. We are having a plan of 100 gigawatt, and by 2030, and sorry 2022, and then we are having another plan of 450 gigawatt by 2030 or 2040 perhaps. So we are having a big plan. So we need to say Ireland is a small country, so we are a much bigger country, so we have to plan like that. But my I take a point from you saying that these are the solar we are doing at a macro scale, big scale. We need to promote a lot the rooftop solar. We have a lot of sunshine. If you go to Germany, a country which is having much less sunshine than India does have, look at that. Every roof has solar panel. Why we can't have it? And now we have different kind of solar panel. Now the solar panels are extremely kind of high end solar panel. Even if you put a solar panel and as the sun goes from east to west, the panel also gets turned around to receive maximum amount of solar energy. So these technologies are already there. So nothing, no rocket science. So I think India is doing well on renewable, but India needs to do it further more, and actually can compensate the fossil fuel driven energy drive through this. I in Kolkata, as part of the Kolkata Corporation has a committee on solar and climate change. I'm part of that committee. In fact, it was my brainchild to do the carbon neutral park. I don't know whether you have seen or not. Those of you who have seen this program, I don't know how many are there. How many are there in the program? How many are I don't know, have seen this program right now. I can't see anything out here. Uh, about 20, or not 20, about 10 parks, starting with the Shoppriya Park in South Calcutta, where there's a carbon neutral. So we have put solar panels around the parks, and the solar panels are taking energy and giving to CSC, the Calcutta Electric Supply Corporation, who give us energy. And in the evening, the CSC giving it back. So almost 90% of the energy use being compensated by this. This is called kind of a energy transfer. This can be done everywhere. You can put it in your roof as well. Multi-stories can have it in roof. Institutions can have it on their roof. So I think that these experiments are now being done. More and more will be done in future. I see bright future for solar and alternate energy in both India and also in West Bengal.
Yes, sir. So next
How,
question is from
how many
Srishti.
more questions you have? How many more questions you have?
Sir, I guess this is the last one.
Okay. How the two countries, India and Bangladesh, should. Okay, I think another extremely favorite point of mine, which I can talk about hours. I think, see, if you, Srishti, thanks for raising this issue. If you look at India and Bangladesh, more West Bengal and Bangladesh. West Bengal and Bangladesh have a lot of things in common. We share the same language. We we like the same songs. We share a lot of things. A lot of things. If you go to Bangladesh, you don't feel that you are in a foreign country. You feel that you are basically in India, basically in West Bengal. So when an issue of, say, Tista, very very contentious issue, sharing water resources from Tista, that's an issue where you are splitting the resources. That's where the controversy starts. But Sundarban is a scenario which is a win-win scenario. If West Bengal and Bangladesh come together and raise the issue of Sundarban and its climate impact in the global platform, that we are planning to do. Not planning, we have been doing it for last 10 years. We have been developed media strategy for that. We have developed scientific strategy for that. World Bank has funded a lot of money in the Calcutta University even. In Calcutta University's biochemistry department, a lot of money has been pumped in to do a lot of researches on this. So if both the countries can come together and talk about Sundarban in one singular voice, I think Sundarban will be survived in a much better way, because Sundarban is a very complicated area. A lot of challenges out there. So it's not an area where an NGO can go and do some correctional work. It is an area where non-profit organizations, civil society, academicians, experts, and government have to join hands. As I said, coalition. We need to have a coalition to save Sundarban. So that coalition also is a transboundary coalition. India and Bangladesh coming together. So I'm very confident that if India and Bangladesh can come together, they have been coming together, but I think it needs to be pushed further. Then definitely it can contribute to the survival and sustainability of Sundarban forest. Not only forest, Sundarban forest, and also the people who live in Sundarban in a much better manner.
So that was our last question, sir. Thank you so much for
Thank
this
you. It's a pleasure.
beautiful lecture and also clarifying all the queries of our viewers. And ma'am could not join us today, and she has sent her best regards and best wishes to you. And we are really honored that you have given a talk in our platform, sir. So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. As I said, it's a kind of a homecoming for me. I'm from zoology department only, and somehow, though I've been visiting every week, couple of times to Baligan Science College, and I live very close to Science College. I live in Shaptaparni building, which is very close to Science College. So I've been there from 2002-3, almost from the inception of Environment Science Department. I've been taking classes in Environment Science Department, but always being just used to take the lift and go to the 8th floor, and not really to the first floor. A lot of my Modhu is a colleague of mine, my batchmate in Baligan Science College, and there are juniors like Ena, Shagor, and Urmi are all there. So really, it's good to see and good to be here. Really feel good to be a part of it, and I hope that your audience. How many people were there, Akashtina, in the program?
Oh, right now, sir, we have around 17.
Okay, but we started with, I think, much
It
more.
will be archived. Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, great. So whoever were there, I think I could make some sense to what I tried to talk. I just concluded this, that climate change, as I started, climate change and climate change negotiation and the climate change dynamics and discourses is something for the future, and not only for the politicians, but also for the academicians, also for the students, also for the employment. So this is a huge opportunity, an untapped area, I would say a virgin area. So I really would like all of you, or those of you who are interested, to kind of engage into it and kind of take it as part of your future discourse. Thank you, everybody. I just looking forward to get the YouTube link, because I think that might be useful. So Akashina, if you can please again send the final YouTube link of the lecture to me, mail it or somehow. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I
Yes, sir.
conclude it. Okay, please.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you,
Thank you.
sir. And to our audience, thank you for watching and being with us. And you can check out our Facebook links and our website, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check out our coming lectures in our next week. And till then, stay safe and have a nice day. Thank you.